Well, great. Thank you. I just want to start by saying happy Friday, everyone. It's been an interesting week, and just glad it's Friday. So this is Christy McKinley that's speaking. I'm the WIN president for 2020. And I just would like to kick this off and just say thank you, everyone, to join us today. We've got a great program that is planned. And just to give a little background, I'm going to make just a couple of announcements and reminders in case maybe you haven't seen our weekly announcement that we send out. WIN, I know we've got some new folks that may not be WIN members on there speaking today, but women at NRCS, as you know, we're dedicated to providing education and training through opportunities like we have today for our members. I'm excited everyone's here today for our third session in our career development series. Just a couple of announcements. We are partnering with the Soil and Water Conservation Society for the summer's conference in Des Moines, Iowa. We have more information that we sent out and we've posted on Facebook. If you're interested in volunteering, we also have scholarships available if you need that. And then the last thing, we get a lot of folks that want us to post job announcements, details, and any kind of thing like that. We're sending that stuff out weekly. And so if you have anything you'd like to share, please send that to April or myself by Thursdays, and then we're working to get those out early Friday morning. So anyway, thank you for the time today. I just want to say thank you to all our speakers to have taken time out of your day to talk to us about the NRCS organizational structure. And with that, I'm going to turn that back over to you, April.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christy. So the first thing I want to ask everybody to do is to mute your phone, because we will get some really wonky feedback if we don't get muted whenever it's time to speak. So feel free to unmute and give us a holler. So this is our third of 11 career development series events for this year. In the last 2 months, we have worked with Marisol to talk about our inspiring decade and where we want to be New Year's Eve of I guess the eve before 2030. And, you know, hopefully you are in a place that you have worked hard for, that you want to be, and that you're thriving. You did get some worksheets to go with today's topic, and with some speaker information and things like that to kind of help you take some notes and kind of lead you and guide you to maybe some steps that you can take to help you grow in your career, where you want to go, how you want to take those steps to get there. Those kind of things help me, so I'm hoping that they also help you. Katrina and I have been talking about working on a binder. And so this is a binder I had at home. It's really colorful, kind of quilt looking, and it's something that speaks to me. So it's something that I'm working on developing for myself. I've put the workbooks from Marisol's talk in there, some other things that I've used. It's been meaningful to me as I'm building on this year's career development series. So we are recording this webinar today, so we will send this out to WIN membership today, late or Monday probably. If you need the links to the past career development series recordings, please let either me or your regional representative know, and we will definitely get that to you. Let's see. So today's lineup is a very impressive crew of folks, and we're so very glad that they're joining us. It's all of our NRCS Chiefs team, and they're from headquarters, and they lead us every day in all of the things that we do. And so we're so very pleased to be able to get such an all-star crowd on hand and taking time from their busy schedule, because we know that these are very busy folks trying to push out our programs and our workloads and keep us and serving our constituents so that they can make sure that the chief is happy with them. So Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. And we also appreciate that you support our WIN members so much. This is a pretty big topic for us and is going to help us to navigate our careers in the next little bit. So while we as participants are looking to navigate our careers and make some changes, we're hoping that the leadership are looking at us and saying, these are folks that we want to recruit to work for us too. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our Associate Chief. Are you ready? You are. There you go.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right.
And this is the only audio I have, so you shouldn't have any back feed from my phone or anything. So
You're fine.
very
You're
good.
fine.
Well, thank you. And I also have in the room here with me Leslie Devers, so she can flash my time when I'm running out. How much time do I actually have?
We're going to give you 10 to 12 minutes, and I will also give you the opportunity that if you need to make any announcements because of all of the events going on this week, if there's anything that you need to let us know or pass along at this point in time, you're welcome to do that before you jump into your organizational structure talk. So.
Okay. Well, I can do that. It might become a distraction because there'll be 100 questions, and I really I think the best thing for is if you have questions to move it up through your state conservationist. But we have we have a really rapidly changing situation with the COVID-19 virus and the spread across the country. At this time, Deputy Sinski's video went out. I hope everyone has seen that. We repeatedly moved it. Our email systems aren't as tight as they should be, so some folks may have not got the message. So we certainly want to make sure everybody gets Deputy Sinski's video. And then also there was an all-employee letter that went out regarding your personal hygiene, washing your hands, social distancing, travel, and managing your travel around this pandemic, now declared pandemic event. Internally, we're communicating with the state conservationist. Every action is situational. I used the example this morning regarding Follett, Texas, and the field office there. If they aren't leaving Follett and going to Amarillo, their risk of exposure is almost nil because nobody goes to Follett except the people that live there. So they've kind of they're self-isolated. And we have field offices that are that way. And there are just very little incidents or opportunity for anybody to be impacted by this. And so we're just dealing with these things situationally. We have some places that are significantly impacted. Not our office. We have no one in the agency or within FPAC at this point that is tested positive for the virus. But they're in communities that have been severely impacted. So we're monitoring those kinds of things. We encourage everybody to be cognizant of what's going on out there and don't put yourself in a position where you have an opportunity to be greatly exposed in places where the virus is active and community spread is happening. But there's a large part of the landscape of America that is not the case, and we can continue to move on. Had some conversation this morning, a large part of our field work, we can still do that. We don't necessarily spend face-to-face time with a farmer. We leave the office, we go out, we survey terraces, we put, waterways, structural measures, we're checking practice implementation. We need to keep doing those kinds of things. If we get to a position where you have community spread and there's a risk, we do have the high risk individuals, the seniors over 60, elderly, people with chronic health conditions, compromised immune systems, and even pregnant women that have been added to the list, that if you're in a place of community spread and the local, the opportunity is there for you to encounter other people, then we can look at a situational telework for those individuals, and that needs to be moved through your state conservationist, or if you're here in national headquarters or one of the centers, the director, but move those requests up. And we're dealing with those. At this point, we have about 20 or 25 people on situational telework, and they're all generally in those areas where we are seeing the virus move through the community. So that's where we're at. Certainly we're watching and we're monitoring, and we're trying to work with our folks. But at the same time, as I shared with the team this morning, we have important work to do. The work that we do is not insignificant to the landscape of agriculture in America. Our farmers, our ranchers, our forest landowners are depending on us to help them get their conservation work done. We're headed to planting season, and much of this work needs to be done before they get their crop in, or will be a whole year of getting the conservation work done. So we need to stay focused. At the same time we're paying attention to this, we need to stay focused on delivering our conservation assistance and supporting our customers out there. So that's the message right now. We continue to move out what we know to the state conservationists, and then they can manage within their state because it's very different within each state. And there is not a global answer for the agency on what we'll do, because we just have to deal with the location where our folks are and the nature of that work. So with that, I'll move on to the I guess the program at hand, and just walk through a few things. First off, I wanted to share my career path, and I'm working on my 39th year. I've had well over 38 in. Have not hit that anniversary yet for 39, but I started with the agency as a range conservationist in the field, and just kind of moved my way up through from the field offices, the area office, into the state office in Oklahoma, and held 3 positions over a 14-year period while I was in the state office in Oklahoma. In 2007, became the state conservationist in Louisiana, and was there 12 years before coming to this position in December of 2018. Along that journey, just a wonderful experience of working with landowners, spending time out in the field. I really, as I said, our work is not insignificant. And I think back on all the encounters and the folks that I worked with, and how many of those folks, had an appreciation for us as an agency, the work we did, and developed friendships around that connectivity on conservation. In 1985, the first farm bill that had a conservation title of significance hit, and through that effort, I was responsible in Northwest Oklahoma for the highly erodible land planning for about 45% of the highly erodible lands cropland in Oklahoma, and 900,000 of the 1.1 million acres of conservation reserve program that went in during that period of time from 1985 to 1993. Leslie said, why don't you just share what you think's important and what made a difference in your career? And quite honestly, I share with a lot of folks, the number one thing is excel in the job you're in. You need to work to be the best person at that job, that task, the position that you're in, that your peers, the people around you, respect you for the knowledge and the interest and the excitement you have around fulfilling the responsibilities of that position. And then your customers, the people that you're touching base with, need to recognize you as somebody that just doesn't sling a lot of bull, but you're just, you're sincere, you know your stuff. If you don't know it, you tell them, I'm going to work on it, and you get back with them, you follow through. And and then you live with it. I think if I were to take you back through, you'll never find a time that I moved through a position very fast, except at those very early years when they forced you to move on a 1 or 2 year increment. But I generally sat in positions for 6, 7 years as I moved through the organization. And the value of that is not only the people that you begin to build connections with that really bring a lot to you, making you a better person and a better professional, and people that challenge you. I mean, it's not all people that are patting you on the back and showing you the love for our agency and things like that. It's people that are, you know, just actually threatening to get your job. And then how do you continue to work through that to a productive end and build a relationship out of something that didn't start all that well? So, you know, excel, grow, learn what you need to learn to do the job. You know, there hadn't been anyone that had dealt with grass planting in Oklahoma of any significance until that CRP came around. And I had to learn a lot about planting grass, introduced species and native grasses, because I'd been dealing with mostly pasture planting all the time I was growing up, Bermuda. So, and if you go on to the national level and even the state office positions, a very similar pattern. And, you know, through all of that, folks above you will recognize that skill set and the practicality, and that you really actually have the experience, and a tremendous amount of doors begin to open for you to, and you have to take those, and it may take some extra effort, but whenever the national office calls and say, hey, we're working on this handbook, would you like to be a part of that process? You have to say yes. And you know, for you to be able to do that, your supervisor has to have faith that you're still going to deliver your job while you're spending some other time over here supporting the folks above you. You know, there's been many a time that they'd send something out and I would spend the weekend reviewing it and getting comments back that they'll invite you to be a part of the team, to work on things, give you a detail. You know, and through all of that and all of that history, you know, miraculously, they asked me if I'd go represent the agency on the Hill to work on the 2014 Farm Bill. At the time, it's 2011. And relationships you build up there, the credibility, then the Hill calls and says, you know, we need you to come back for the 2018 Farm Bill. So all of that is rooted not in, I think most people that know me know I'm not a real charismatic individual. I'm really pretty well straightforward. This is the way things have to be. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. So it was really the work products and the experience that I brought, and that experience was gained by really leaning in, spending time, and owning my mistakes through my career. And I got to tell you, some of them have been pretty tough. And when you have to dig yourself out of it, you'll never repeat it again. And you've gotten a whole lot of skill sets that will keep you from repeating it again. So that's my career path. It's the exciting thing. I started as a range conservationist. You know, I did not know a thing about the management side, the budgets, all of those other things. And look, you know, over time, you grow to it. And as long as you keep working, learning, and moving, you can be anything you want to be in this agency. Our structure as an agency is a pyramid. So you need to recognize that on the front end. As you move up through this organization, no matter which position you're targeting, there's just less opportunity. There's fewer positions, and to be available and competitive, it really rides on what you've done, what you're doing in the position you're in right now. And then when you go to that next one, it's excelling and adapting yourself to that job and being a leader in that position. But there is a lot of opportunity as I look at the positions we're trying to fill right now. It's an open door for an employee that has really applied themselves to being a conservationist, being an excellent manager, an excellent leader, and moving themselves forward professionally and personally into the position. So there's opportunity, but it is tighter. I mean, it does speak in our structure of the place that you really have to demonstrate your ability to lead and excel as you're coming up. And so take the opportunity right where you're at to build out that part of your life, your career. As we look at you know, what's my expectations? What's our goals? The chief has the broad mission and vision of the agency. We have things that we're required to do, but ultimately here within the national office, our push right now is for operational and technical excellence. In every aspect of our work, we want this building to function at a level of performance and accountability that you out in the field look to us and say they're a role model for how we should be working and conducting our operation. It's the way we go about our business, the way we interact with people, a degree of professionalism, you know, that we're accountable for our work product. We make mistakes, but when we make them, we own them, and we work very quickly to get ourselves back out of that and to keep the agency moving forward. Because quite honestly, that, I said we're a pyramid, that base is what drives our agency. If we're not functional, successful, and interacting and have our people at that field level well-trained to deliver those conservation services, then there's really not a point for us to be here. So that's the important part of our goal, our vision, and what we're striving for. A lot of change right now in the organization. It's exciting. People have said, stay conservationists, tell others, if you've not been in the national office in a while, take a detail into there, because there's a lot going on and you can make a difference. And that's not just a state conservationist, that's anyone out there that wants to come in and do a detail that has a skill set and be complimentary. If you want to come in, you want to work and lean in, put your shoulder to the grindstone, we welcome that kind of support. For me and the folks that work around me, our organizational structure is the chief. I work for him. Leslie Devers is my chief of staff. We have Jewel McKenzie that works as a farm bill assistant while we're trying to, really a specialist while we're trying to get the farm bills built, our regulations built and get them out. We finished the interim. We're working on the final rules, all the policies. They just keep it all coordinated and tied together. And then all the deputies report directly to me. So really, short of the regional conservationist, the rest of the national office works underneath the associate chief's framework. It's exciting. We really got a lot of great people, and they're working hard. For you, I think there's a lot of opportunity for you to engage and for us to be a part of your career development. And it really is, it's really in your control. So I ran through a few things, hit a lot of stuff. I could talk a long time about this agency, because we really are a very important agency to the health and safety of this country. Okay, April, I'll pass it back to you. And I am sorry I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole time. I do have some other things I've got to attend to here shortly.
Well, we really appreciate you taking this time, and we appreciate Leslie's help helping you now, as well as all the help she's provided us getting this workshop set up. So thank you. And you know, the folks from the Midwest are definitely going to represent the agency well. So.
Very good.
We love our cattlemen, don't we?
Yes.
So, with that, we would like to hear from Astor Boozer, the regional conservationist from the West. Astor, are you on? I haven't seen his name yet.
Yes, I am, April.
All right. Well, would you please introduce yourself briefly and tell us what you do, a little bit about your career path and things like that.
Thanks, April. I appreciate that. And hello to everyone that's on the call today. Just a little bit about me, Astor, and I'm representing all of the RCs. We all wanted the opportunity to speak to you guys, and I won by pulling the longest straw. So feel appreciated that all of us RCs are excited about WIN and excited about employees that are currently with us and will be the future of the agency. So just briefly about me, I've been with the agency 33 plus years. I hadn't hit 34 yet. My career started in Texas. I am a third generation former cow-calf owner-operator out of the great state of Texas. And I started as a district employee and came on as a soil tech and worked there for a little while, and from a tech to a soil conservationist through the line of DC and other water quality specialist type positions and other things to an AC, and then in the state office and the state conservationist. So I moved around to 9 different states within my career. I was a state conservationist in New York, 2009 to 2012. This position I am in is the second opportunity I have had to be in the national office, and I have enjoyed each time, especially the position that I am in now. And it has been a great opportunity to continue to grow and develop as well myself, and to also assist other employees with their growth and development. And just a couple other things, folk. I know there's several speakers behind me, and I can talk as well and talk long, but I'll definitely try to cut it short. But I want to hit just a few key points, and I agree with everything Kevin said with the hard work, doing your job, being great at what you do, looking for opportunities, taking some chances, and making a few moves and stuff like that. So I definitely agree with that. Getting more at the points of operation, and I think it's key when you're thinking about where you might want to end up in your career or a certain position that you would like to end up in. You know, your career path will help determine that, and work that you're doing, you should be working. Oh, excuse me, that's my doggy barking there. I apologize. But you should be working within that path to get you where you would like to be. State conservationists, RCs, the path is slightly different than the national engineer or the state agronomist and stuff. So I think figuring out where you want to end up is going to be key. Your supervisors, coworkers, people that may be mentors can actually give you some insight on what you would like to do and what that next position may be that you're looking to apply for. So those are things to keep in mind as you move your career forward. You know, you don't want to do a detour into something that may not be a benefit to where you want to go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting additional experience, but that experience that you're getting, you know, you hope that it leads to where you would like to be within the agency. So I think that's important to take a look at. So a lot of times I will ask employees, what are your career goals? And if you have an overall view of that idea, then that gives me a chance to really help point you in the right direction and give you a little bit more guidance on positions that you maybe should look at. So definitely keep that in mind. A little bit more about the RCs and our overall structure. I think everyone knows we supervise the state conservationists around the nation. We are line officers. You know, the chief is my direct supervisor, and state conservationists through your area conservationists and your DCs, that's the line. And so it's a line and staff. The way our system is managed, our operation is line and staff. So those are some things to think about. And with the way we're operating as RCs and with our state conservationists, we're helping to deliver conservation as the chief gives us direction and guidance as it comes from the secretary and undersecretary. So that the work that we're doing, you know, a lot of the work at our national office at the RCs, it looks like the overall analysis of our programs, where and how the funds are delivered, what states are doing, the support of our states. Those are all things that we are totally concerned about and actually work directly with our state conservationists. So it gives you an idea of some things and the structure of what we do on a daily basis. So April, I could go on for a while, but I know that time is getting short, and I'll just cut it at the point. There may be some questions at the end that I can address.
Fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for hanging around. We're going to make a minor adjustment to the order of the speakers, and we're going to ask Louis Aspey to go next because Louis has a pretty important meeting here shortly, and we want to make sure that he makes that on time. So please entertain us now.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So first off, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this. I really appreciate that, and hearing the other speakers here. And thank you very much for moving me up a bit in the agenda, and apologies to the folks that I bumped a little bit. I got to go meet with the chief here in a little bit. So, so I'm looking at the career development series sheet and listening, taking my cues from Kevin and Astor. My career path is a little bit non-traditional. I actually started with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I worked in California, and I worked in Huntington, West Virginia for some time. And I had the opportunity to transfer to NRCS in West Virginia almost 15 years ago now. I came in as the Assistant for Water Resources, and then I transitioned into the Assistant for Operations. And then I had the wonderful opportunity to come to headquarters as the Chief of Staff for the Regional Conservationists. After that, Kevin Wiki came up here, who was the state con at the time, came up to headquarters as a RC, and I was able to go back to West Virginia as a state conservationist. And now I'm up at headquarters. I've been up here, actually, I'm wrapping up my second full week now officially as the Deputy Chief for Management and Strategy. So I picked a heck of a time to come up here with the virus and all that stuff going on, but it's a fun time. So a bit non-traditional compared to the others that you may hear from today and from what your career path has been up to this point. So I want to echo something that I think Astor and Kevin both said, and that is don't be afraid to take a bit of risk in your career. If you see something that interests you, go ahead and take that leap. If it works out for your family, if it works out for you personally, it's okay to be a little bit scared and a little bit nervous. Once you get past that and I can speak from my experience. Anytime there's been great change, when I've come to headquarters the first time, I was a little bit nervous, and I quickly realized that was unfounded. Yeah, the pace is different. Everything's different as far as living expenses and everything else or whatnot. But you quickly get adjusted and used to it and get into a routine. And every time I have taken a chance like that, it has definitely paid off for my career. So I would encourage you strongly, if you have a desire to explore a little bit or are curious, and I'll advertise for my current position. There are opportunities here with management and strategy. If you are interested in exploring a detail to headquarters, please reach out. Multiple skill sets, multiple opportunities, and I'll get into that in a minute. So just going down through the list, what does my branch and area do? Well, that's a great question because we're a brand new deputy area. I am the first deputy chief, permanent deputy chief. We had, when it was first stood up, we had Taryn Hilsman, state conservationist from Maryland, in here. And then after that, we had Ron Alvarado, state conservationist in Oregon, for a number of months. And they did a wonderful job setting the foundation. But the position is evolving. The deputy area is evolving now that the dust has settled a bit, trying to determine the functional statements for the divisions. Is it the tours a little bit, trying to figure out, okay, what makes sense? How do we mesh in with the business center? How do we mesh with the states and certainly the other deputy areas up here? So that process is evolving, and it's an exciting opportunity. Even though there are so many things uncertain, it's a bit of a blank slate, and we get to create the organization that we think we need for the NRCS family. And I am very much a collaborator. I want to work with states. I want to work with the business center, and I certainly want to work with the other deputy areas here in NHQ, along with the regional conservationist office, in forming that vision, in coordinating that to make it a reality. So we oversee 4 divisions. International Programs Division, which is led by Lillian Wood-Shaver. She is the division director. We have Program and Policy Analysis Division, which is led by Dan Lawson as the division director. We have Outreach and Partnerships Division, which is Ron Harris is the division director. And we have Strategic Support Services Division, which is led by Sharif Branham as the division director. So it's a bit of a broad reach in spanning what we do. And again, there's a lot of opportunity to that, and it's exciting. So I think I touched on what my goals and vision are for the branch and area. I want to be collaborative. I want to be customer-centric and focused on how you deliver conservation at the local level. One of the pillars of this agency that I constantly refer back to and really resonates with me is locally led. That's not just with the interaction that you may have with a customer that walks in your office. It goes throughout the agency. That thread weaves its way to all the deputy areas and everything we touch. And I want to focus on that. What makes sense at the local level you need for management and strategy, and how we deliver that to you. What job series are the best fit for this branch area? I think that's wide open right now. My background, I have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. I have a master's in public administration. We have financial resources specialists on board. I think the majority of the staff is in the 300 series, either management program analyst. But there's a lot of opportunities to make this what we want. So I wouldn't get caught up in any of the job series that you may see on the organizational chart right now. I think there's room for the 400 series, the 800 series, certainly the 300 series, and the financial series right now. So it's wide open. I think I've already talked about who works for me. We have right now anyway, the organizational chart has, I believe, about 35 or so slots. We don't have all those filled, and we're in the process right now of reevaluating what the deputy area really needs to look like now, 1+ years past stand up. Leadership opportunities. I think every position in headquarters is a leadership opportunity. If you haven't been up here, I would really encourage you to consider doing a detail just to get the perspective that headquarters would provide. I know a number of you have done details that are on this call. I would encourage you to reach out and compare notes on what your experiences were and encourage each other, encourage ones that have not to maybe take that big first step into the unknown. I can promise you that your skills will be valued up here and you will definitely not be bored. There'll be a lot of work to do. And the interesting and the fun part about it is you're making a difference. I guess the comparison I make is when you're out in the field, you have a few things and you really dig down deep. When you're at headquarters, you have a ton of things that you touch on and move, and your scope is a little bit more shallow and you're on to the next thing. It's an exciting environment, it's a dynamic environment, and it really gives you perspective into the rest of your career, and it gives you exposure, which is key and very, very important. I've had a number of people in my career that I can look back on that have taken me under their wing, officially and unofficially, and some don't even know this, that I really learned from and I really respect. I would encourage you, get a mentor, find those people that encourage you, want to see you realize your goals, and listen to you and help you refine what your career goals are, and help you achieve those. There's a lot of folks in this agency that are just really good people, and the organization has been referred to many, many times that I've heard as a family, and I think that's true. This is a really good place to work. There's going to be a lot of advancement opportunities if you so desire, not only the details, but I think permanent positions. As the organization unfolds and grows and matures, but also as attrition occurs. You know, it's a snapshot in time right now. Folks aren't going to be around forever. Folks move on to different opportunities, they retire. If you have that exposure at headquarters and folks are familiar with you and know the quality of your work, you have a leg up on folks that may be equally qualified but don't have that visibility. So again, I can't stress enough, put yourself out there. And when you do, I want to echo something that Kevin Norton said, because that really resonated with me too. Make yourself indispensable. Be the person that is the go-to in the office. Be the person that if you are assigned something, run with it, roll up your sleeves, dig into it, find out what really needs to be done, and make it happen. I'm probably preaching to the choir, because I think most, if not all of you on the phone already do that now, but I just want to underscore that, how important that is. Jumping down to the bottom of this, the most important decision that you made in your career, I can tell you for me, shifting agencies, you know, going from the Corps of Engineers to NRCS, that was a big leap for me. Maybe lesser so when I came to headquarters, certainly coming back to headquarters, but don't be afraid to take a risk in your career. It works, things work out an unbelievably high percentage of the time. And then make yourself indispensable once you do that, fully commit to it. Best piece of career advice, that's a tough one. I think I may have touched on it with just be indispensable. A couple of quotes that really resonate with me. I don't know if we have any bit of silliness here, but if you have any Star Wars fans in the audience, Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. There's no shame in failing, but give it your all. And then the second one is, I guess, from Abraham Lincoln. I do the best that I can do, and I mean to do so until the very end. That pays off. People see that, and it really pays off. So I think with that, in the interest of time, I'll turn it back over to April. If any of you have any questions, want to reach out to talk one-on-one, please feel free to do so. I'll be happy to do that. If you want to talk about just career development, career advice, if you want to talk about potential detail opportunities, please do so. I will be very happy to help. April, thank you very much for inviting me. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. We really appreciate you also, and hope the rest of your afternoon and weekend is wonderful. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Astor, are you still on? I think you said you would be continuing to join us, correct?
Yes, I'm still on.
Okay, good. I had a question come in that asked us, can you explain line and staff, what that means?
Yeah, so the simple one is that the line is the responsible official that covers your state conservationist. Field office do some work, an area, something like that. When it all comes down, that state office in that state has a responsibility of making sure that work is done. So that's the line. That's the straight line from the secretary down to the district conservation. So, and the staff is the individuals that are supporting that line to get work done. Here at the RC's office, we have staff that support us, but we're also supporting the state conservationist and his or her staff. But the responsible individual is really that line officer. You know, if something goes on, the chief will call me. He won't call the staff individual. I will call your state conservation if something happens in the state. State conservation will probably call that DC if it's a individual county that's going on. So that's that responsible official to get make sure things are happening and is being held accountable. Not that other staff aren't being held accountable, but you know, when it gets down to what's happening, your state conservation is the individual that I call when something goes on in your state. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Very good. Very good. Up next, our speaker is Katie Sarantini. I hope I pronounced your name right because I didn't practice it. I'm so sorry. Katie is filling in for Louis Tupas. Maybe you can make sure that I'm saying all these names right. For the Deputy Chief of Soil Science and Resource Assessment. I'm so glad you joined us today, Katie. Could you tell us a little about yourself and who you're representing and take it from there?
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, April. So my name's Katie Sarantini. You were close. I am representing the Soil Science and Resource Assessment Deputy area today. Louis Tupas is our new Deputy Chief, and he comes to us from NIFA, so he's very new to the agency, although the work that he did at NIFA and in other capacities is very relevant to a lot of the work that we do in the Soil Science and Resource Assessment Deputy area. So we're very glad to have him on board. We've been 2 years, I believe, without a Deputy Chief, and while we've had a lot of great people come in acting, it's great to have that stability and now have a leader that can take us forward on some things that don't always move forward when you have a bit of a revolving door. So Louis is not able to make it today. He, I believe, had to be at USGS for a meeting, but asked me to represent SSRA up until about 4 months ago, maybe 3-4 months ago. I was the special assistant or chief of staff for SSRA. So I worked directly for that deputy chief and helped to manage the across the deputy area on a number of items. And so in that position, I did learn quite a bit about SSRA. And I wanted to focus less on my career path because you're not getting the deputy chief today with me, but focus a little bit more on our org structure and what we do, because I find that oftentimes people will know 1 or 2 things that we deal with in SSRA, but not really understand the entire organization or what we're all about and maybe how we differ from other parts of the agency. So a couple of years ago, we got together as a leadership team and came up with a mission statement. So what we do in SSRA is that we provide authoritative, science-based natural resources information and products for decision makers. Sounds very general, but as I talk through what our divisions are and some of our products that we have, I think that'll make sense that it encompasses everything. And I tend to think of SSRA as being more on the inventory and data collection and management side of things, whereas S&T, and you'll hear from Diane in a little bit here, does more of the tech transfer and training side of things. But there is some gray area, and we work together with S&T and with programs on a number of items. So about our organization, we're the largest deputy area ever since the soils organization was centralized. So we've got roughly 600, maybe 615 positions across the deputy area. And that's split up into 2 divisions, the Soil and Plant Science Division and the Resource Inventory and Assessment Division. We've also got 3 centers, the National Soil Survey Center in Lincoln, Nebraska, the National Water and Climate Center in Portland, Oregon, and the National Geospatial Center of Excellence in Fort Worth. NGCE is shifting over to the SPAC Business Center, but we do plan to stay very closely involved with them because the work that they do is crucial to the rest of the work that goes on at NRCS. And we also have 3 remote sensing labs that support the National Resources Inventory, and they also support easements monitoring with their remote sensing activities there. So we're kind of spread out all over the place. We have staff in DC, but most of our staff are outside of DC. And I believe April shared the one-pager that we have that will give you some links to some of the products that we provide or the services that we provide. But I think most people are familiar with the soil survey. That's our largest program, and we've got about 300 soil scientists in the field that continue to work on soil survey, filling in the gaps, improving it, adding in things like coastal zones and urban soils that we don't have as much information on. We operate also the snow survey program, where we collect data on the snowpack and provide water supply forecasts for the western states. We work on the National Resources Inventory that I mentioned earlier and that folks may have encountered through field data collection. So we rely on data that collected from the field. We also take hundreds of thousands of samples using aerial photography and use that information to assess the changes in land use, so the trends from the 1980s until the present. That's an ongoing kind of long-term data collection activity. We also use the NRI data for another big activity in our deputy area, which is the Conservation Effects Assessment Project. And that's the project that aims to model the outcomes of our conservation programs on the land. And that's been given new emphasis now with the emphasis on outcomes in the new Farm Bill. And so that area that has gotten a few new staff, I actually shifted over to the outcomes team. So that's why I'm no longer in the chief of staff position. So that's kind of a priority moving forward. And then the other products I mentioned, NGCE, so we provide authoritative geospatial data. NGCE also buys LiDAR and aerial imagery. So all these kind of inputs that are useful at various levels throughout the organization. So as you can imagine, in those, given those areas that we cover, our job series, we have a lot of soil scientists. We have a lot of cartographers and cartotechs in the remote sensing labs. And then we have, well, of course, hydrologists in the Water and Climate Center. And then we have generally, the 401 series natural resources specialists, especially on the analysis side or the assessment side, that tend to take the information and pull it together and provide tools that are used in hopefully used in programs decision making. Let's see. So I talked a little bit about priorities, one of them being outcomes. We're also looking at increasing efficiency in how we use and analyze data. So dealing with big data, getting into machine learning, coding, and all of that is really important right now in SSRA. And also something that's been a big issue for us is making sure that we're maintaining the IT support for our systems and our products. And then finally, so along with the data management and analytical skills that we have here, I just wanted to say that I think that another skill that we need throughout the agency, but it's important with SSRA because we create a lot of products, but we're not always as good at translating them so that others can understand them, or so that they can be used in a program decision making or somewhere in the field. So I think communications and data visualization and being able to write succinctly and give a briefing to a decision maker about how our data can feed into those decisions is a really important skill to have. And because we're a science-based agency, I think that's important wherever you are at NRCS. And I wanted to leave some time for others, so I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, Katie. And I did have your resource up. I don't know if you could see that or not, but it was there.
Oh, great.
Good deal. Okay, so next on our agenda is Maggie Rhodes, and she's stepping in for Jimmy Bramblett this afternoon. Are you there, Maggie?
Yes, April, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Are you ready?
Good, all right. I'm a quick talker, so I'll get through this real fast. So, of course, Deputy Chief for Programs, Jimmy, he is on travel, so that's why he can't be here, but maybe when you focus on SCSs next month, he could come on and talk about, as well as Carrie, who is taking over the easement programs branch. But basically, programs is Conservation Planning and Technical Assistance Division, Easement Program Division, and Financial Assistance Programs Division, which FAPD is my division. But totally about $4 billion in programs we manage. We've been working really heavy on the Farm Bill and the policy and the manuals. My career, I started in 1985, so this year will be 35 years. I worked 21 years in the state of Maryland in 4 different positions, all the way from a technician in 85 up to the assistant state conservationist. I applied for 4 state conservationists, never was able to get one, so I ended up coming to headquarters in 2006 as a management analyst, and I've been in headquarters 14 years. I was a farmer of 700 acres, beef and sheep growing up, and then just crops afterwards. 2 anecdotes I wanted to tell you guys is when I was a SoilCon Pearlie Reed, I had to drive him from a field event back to the office, and he asked me what were my career aspirations, and I said I'd like to be a state conservationist, which he was our state conservationist at the time. And then the second thing is I found out when I was a soil conservationist, Pearlie had a discussion at the state office that he was going to transfer me to Western Maryland, which was 3 hours away from my farm. It never happened, but finding out later that could have made a change in my career, it's kind of enlightening, because the reason I spent so much time in Maryland is I did have a farm and a family there, so I was not willing to sell the farm for my career, because it was part of my family legacy. It's second generation, but I was willing to drive. My whole career, I've driven either 2 hours or 5.5 hours for the position. So I just want you guys to know we do sometimes make sacrifices, but as now in headquarters, only in the last 5 years have I been close enough to headquarters to live here that I made the decision that was important. In headquarters, it is a lot of work, and I also am a mother of two young men, 30 and 32. That was a priority for me, for my family to be stable. And I chose jobs based on whether they were infants or in middle school or high school or college. I went to headquarters when my kids were in college. So those were family decisions I made. Most of my jobs I've done either 2 years to 7 years. I've done 4 or 5 positions in headquarters. The one thing I would say is for advice is you have to be authentic. You have to respect yourself, your family, the farmers and employees. You need to pace yourself throughout your career. I have put my family first. When in 85, they hired a whole bunch of females for positions. I saw, some of us were a little bit slower and kind of got to know the job. And Kevin's right. You really need to know the job before you move to the next one, because that really gives you the credibility and the respect you need. But I think you have to believe in yourself and know your what is best for you. I didn't let people influence me and say you have to move quickly up into the agency. Let's see. So I think I am the first female in FAPD division director position. I think they have all been males before me. So that is a celebration. I have about 30 to 32 employees. We ask for detailees all the time. We have anywhere from 3 to 5 every 120 days. And just to know, it is so valuable for you to come in. It's nice that you can stay in a hotel and you don't have to buy a house or rent an apartment, but come in for those 120 days. We need your field experience. A lot of us in headquarters have been out of the field too long, but know that the people in headquarters value what happens at the field level. That is the main reason a lot of us came into headquarters, is we wanted to make things better because we remember what it was like when we were out in the field and some policy would come down from headquarters and we didn't always think it was appropriate for our area. But that's where we need your valued input in headquarters, as well as your you getting the value from us to experience what it's like. It is very fast-paced. It is, we get inquiries all the time, anywhere from Farmer Jones not getting their EQIP contract to why isn't my payment being done last week kind of things. But you're also making nationwide decisions, and it's really important. We do a valuable mission. I'm so proud of our mission and what we do. We do wonderful things. I did spend 2 years in Afghanistan as a USDA representative. And when you go into a country where people don't have food to eat and they don't have clean water, you really see the value of how what we're doing out there in the country is really a national defense mission, in that we are providing clean water and plentiful food for people out there. Book recommendation, it may be because I'm 61 and I'm reflecting back on life, but I would suggest the book is called Letting Go. It's on Audible. It's by Dr. David Hawkins. I've gotten more out of that in the recent year, this past year, and I've listened to it quite a few times. But that has been, and it could be, I know when I recommend to my sons, they go, Mom, no, thanks. So just to let you know, the positions in headquarters under programs are usually natural resource specialists, management analysts, biologists. We really need field people to come up. I believe a lot of where my value has come from was my farm ethics. Farm ethics goes hand in hand with being a civil servant, as well as a leader and able to lead throughout. I think that was all my notes, but I think I'm supposed to talk next month. I'll be in an SCS, so I'll talk about other things next month if I come back and you ask me back. That's it. Thanks, April.
Thank you, Maggie. Very well done. We really appreciate your time. And it is really refreshing to hear that not only some of the folks that are in headquarters came up through the field, but it's also refreshing to hear that they're also farmers themselves. And so thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And thank you for sharing your book also. I think we're all always looking for a book to help us and inspire us. So thank you so much for all of the things that you said today. And last but not least is Diane Gelburd. And so Diane is the Deputy Chief for Science and Technology, and we're very glad that she has joined us today also. Diane?
Thanks, April. I really appreciate participating today and hearing from everyone. I feel very fortunate to be in the position I am as Deputy Chief for Science and Technology because it's really an area that I love. I started out, I'm actually one that didn't go through the traditional route. I started out as an archaeologist and worked on 3 continents doing archaeology, and then worked for 3 different federal agencies as well as the private sector before coming over to NRCS at the time as the only culture resource specialist available to all states. So I worked all over the country doing culture resource work and worked on various different both watershed projects, O1 activities, which was really a great way to get to know the agency. I fell into the management arena when my supervisor, at that time I was in the Economics and Social Sciences Division, asked me to sort of have a collateral duty as his assistant director. I never wanted to go into management, and I told him that, and he said, well, if you don't like it, you can always go back. Well, fortunately, I liked it because I realized that it's not a good idea to, go back and say, well, I don't want to be a manager anymore because it really can close off some doors. So science and technology arena is really our toolbox. We provide leadership on all the conservation practice standards, the field office technical guide, the payment schedules, any of the resource assessment tools. It's a really exciting area. We have all the ologies that are in the agency. We do all the new conservation technology, all the conservation training. We have 3 divisions in Washington, D.C., and that's the Conservation Engineering Division, the Ecological Sciences Division, and the Soil Health Division. Primarily the Conservation Engineering Division and the Ecological Sciences Division are responsible for all of the conservation practice standards and all of the handbooks and guidance and various documents that are related to that. And I see, April, that you put up our org chart. I'm going to ask people not to distribute this org chart because today as I was looking at it, because this was supposed to be the updated one, I noticed that there are some incorrect names and grade levels still in it. We have somebody doing a central org chart for the agency, and I guess with getting 9,000 names and positions, it gets a little bit confusing at times. So there are a couple of things I do need to straighten out on that. About a year ago, we had a strategic planning session and developed our vision, and our vision is to be the world-class conservation technology leaders. We need to be nimble, innovative, creative, flexible in incorporating and transferring the latest and best technology. We are really the world's conservation technology leaders. Countries come to us from all over the world. They use our conservation practice standards. They use our field office tech guide as sort of their model. They come and consult with us all the time, and you may have had the opportunity to visit with some foreign visitors looking at our conservation activity and learning from us. So in addition to the 3 divisions that we have in headquarters, Conservation Engineering Division also oversees a National Design and Construction and Soil Mechanics Center, some of whom are located in Lincoln and some in Fort Worth, and then the National Water Management Center, which deals mainly with watershed planning, that's in watershed planning technology, that's in Little Rock, Arkansas. We have 3 National Technology Support Centers, which are primarily our technology transfer centers. So while in headquarters we are more the policy and national technology development, the National Technology Support Centers provide a lot of the technology transfer and training and assistance to states in terms of the high-level technology needs. So we have one in Greensboro, North Carolina, one in Fort Worth, and one in Portland, Oregon. And those 3 centers also have some specialized teams. In Greensboro, we have the manure management, animal husbandry and manure management team. In the Fort Worth Center, we have the range management team, and then in Portland we have a air quality team and a water quality and quantity team. So they provide some really sort of state-of-the-art technology development and transfer, and some really exciting work that's done. There's a lot of exciting activities going on, a lot of opportunities as well, and just like Maggie, I really encourage anybody who's interested to come on a detail with us. It doesn't have to be a formal detail. We have teams all the time. And I'll tell you about one really exciting thing we're working on right now. But some of the other things I want to tell you about first that we do is we represent the agency in a lot of technology arenas. Some of it is short-term work groups. Some of it is more long-term. For example, our National Water Quality and Aquatic Ecologist, Water Quality Specialist and Aquatic Ecologist, she is on the National Coral Reef Task Force, which has been going on for many years and is a very high-level task force in the federal government, and they meet various places throughout, not just the United States, but also in the Trust Territories, dealing with major coral reef concerns. There's also a lot of other water quality task force that she works with. We had just recently a precision ag technology work group that was USDA-wide that our National Nutrient Management Specialist worked on. In terms of opportunities related to types of positions, we have all sorts of positions in engineering, we have geology, we have all sorts of natural resource positions in the 400 series, ecologists, rangeland management specialists, soil conservationists, agronomists, foresters, soil scientists, natural resource specialists, economists, archaeologists. So it's a really wide range of opportunities and a really wide range of issues that you can get involved in. Sometimes it's a hot issue, like if there's an animal disease crops up that deals with activities on the farm, like avian flu or foot and mouth disease. We may be on a USDA-wide or even a government-wide team to deal with a specialized outbreak. So there are a lot of things that go on all the time. Right now, there's an opportunity, and if anybody's interested in working on it, it's the Secretary's Agriculture Innovation Agenda, which you may have seen some information on. And the Secretary is trying to change the framework of agriculture and the way agriculture is perceived. And he has 2 overarching goals of increasing production by, or productivity by 40%, and that has to do with the increase in population by 2050, as well as reduce the environmental footprint by 50%. So obviously, NRCS is very involved in this. I lead one of the 3 teams, and that is innovative technology into conservation programs, and that's going to deal a lot with the second goal of the environmental footprint reduction. So the teams are just revving up now to kind of put the meat on the bones, and so there's a lot of opportunities for people to participate in this. And the door is wide open in terms of ideas and exciting new opportunities in terms of innovative technology that we could identify, ways we could identify it. So it's really an exciting opportunity to get involved with. There was a meeting today on metrics that I wasn't able to attend, but I'm hoping to get the information on. So in terms of some of the other questions that you asked, leadership opportunities, I mentioned work groups, teams that we currently have, or any interest that you have, you can let me know. And I usually keep a running list of people's interests. If something's not possible right now, there usually is an opening later on. There are a lot of acting opportunities with the vacancies that we've had. We've had a lot of people come in for acting in national discipline lead positions, which again can provide people not only with experience but with visibility and an opportunity to see what else is available in the agency. You also asked about book recommendations and other things. There's no one book I'd recommend. I like to look at articles. I get government executive newsletter, and I look for leadership articles through that and some of the latest leadership ideas, and also I'm Senior Executive Association. There's a lot of leadership articles to see what's the latest leadership ideas and management techniques that are suggested in those. You asked about the most important decision I made in my career. What I would say there is that when I first came to NRCS, I had a supervisor who kept saying he really wanted someone with a PhD. And he had actually wanted someone else. And at the time I came to the agency, they had asked me to, well, they were trying to diversify. So I was not necessarily his first pick. And rather than take that as a negative, I took it as a challenge. And I went back to school at night and got my PhD. And it was a 6-year sacrifice, nights and weekends. And it was the best thing I ever did because it had opened up so many opportunities for me as a result. It was really funny. Nobody ever told me that getting a PhD, people just think you're smarter, which is not the case. It's more what I call pilot higher and deeper. You have to sort of persevere to get your degree. But there are positions that I've had that are the deciding factor was the fact that I had my PhD, particularly like in positions now in science and technology where having a PhD is an advantage. So one thing I would say to you is that if people put a barrier in your way or make you feel like you're not as qualified as they would like. There are many different ways you can deal with that, and I think the most important way to deal with it is to find a way to basically overcome it or demonstrate that you do have the qualifications and the capabilities, even if you have to work for it and achieve certain goals on your own. the best piece of career advice I think I've gotten is actually something very simple, and that is to be positive and always be responsive and responsible, and to have a can-do attitude. And I think that was stated in different ways by most of the speakers here today. And on that, I will close and hopefully get a chance to visit with you again.
Thank you so much, Diane, and we are just really very pleased to have a lady on the chief's team as one of the deputies. So we're really glad that you were able to join us today also. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, and I'm so glad to see, I have to compliment everybody in WIN because I was involved with the first, meeting, organizing meeting of WIN, and I'd say everybody has come so far and is being so supportive, and you're doing so, I think, very creative leadership development documents and opportunities. I have to congratulate everybody on that.
Thank you. And thank you for being part of getting this started, because it definitely has grown into a wonderful organization, and I think our future is super bright too. So thank you so much. So we have about 8 minutes left, and so we will take questions. We still have several speakers on the call. If you have any questions, you can either use the chat to type in a question, or we'll give you just a moment to ask that. I can't imagine somebody not having a question. Yes.
So April, it seems like we may have a gap there. I was wondering, some of the folks that's on the phone that may be interested right now on opportunities, or another thing I would ask, would a individual be mobile for something in the next 6 to 18 months and stuff?
Very good. Is there a particular role that would fill?
Yeah, I'm just talking from the RC shop. We're always looking for analysts. I mean, we have so much data that comes through, so much that we're trying to do to assist our state conservationists, whether it's budgetary information, staffing, programmatic information. We have dashboards that we're working on with the Accenture that are helping us out. But there's always some things that we RCs will say, man, we really need somebody to look at that for us and pull some data. All this is staffing information, things of that sort. So we've been talking about some things. So definitely we're looking for somebody that's interested in being able to get into the weeds and data mine some things for us. Good.
So we even have job postings today. This is amazing. This is good. Thank you. And if there's somebody who's interested in that, do they contact you directly? Who should they contact, Astor?
Yeah, that'll be easy. Just reach out to me, and then we'll make sure we talk to them through it. Myron is our chief of staff, but since he isn't on the call, I don't want anybody to cold call him and start talking. He said, well, where'd they come from? So right. just reach out to me. That's perfect.
Okay.
And April,
yes.
April, FHCD has one out for 2 detailees right now. It should be hitting the emails. That usually comes out of the business center. So, and I see you have one question on leadership courses.
Yes.
so I'll address some of that. I can tell you that I applied for the Candidate Development Program. They call it the CDP for senior exec. That's Diane, you can probably talk more on the charm school because I didn't do that. But basically, the CDP is a 18-month. You go to, like I went to American University for courses. There were 8 or 10 of them across 18 months. You do papers. You do a 4-month detail as an SCS, and then you become OPM certifies you, and you become certified as an SCS. The opportunities there are you can be placed in an SCS position. What typically happens, though, is you apply for SCS positions. Different agencies do different things, so that was how I received my SCS certification. So that's a possibility. I've been out of more of the leadership formal courses, so that's how I can just tell you what I went through. Diane, you want to talk about I don't know the other one. We always called it the charm school.
You call it the charm school. You talking about FEI?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, rather than talk, the Federal Executive Institute is a month-long course that is really a great leadership program for GS 14s and 15s, but that's something that's very limited in terms of attending. Usually it's people that are in the SCS CDP program or people that have gotten an SCS position but haven't been through the SCS CDP program. But what I was going to say, you mentioned SCS CDP. There's also, the Strategic Leadership Development Program that we have in NRCS, which is really good. One of the courses that I've taken, which is not a leadership course, but one of the best courses I have ever taken is assertiveness training. And because it's taught me to deal with people with very, aggressive people and passive people, and try to figure out how best to communicate and diffuse situations, and work both with, not only employees but colleagues, et cetera, in terms of ensuring the best working relationships.
Is that a NRCS or a USDA, or was that just something outside?
That was something outside. I think you can now even take it online. I took it through the American Management Association. At that time, they did have it live. But that's something that helps me even in personal situations, too.
Sure. Very good. We have Heather has raised her hand. And Heather, if you would like to ask your question, you're welcome to.
Sure. Thank you all for participating. My name is Heather Medina Soseva. I'm an assistant state for field operations. And one of the challenging things I hear many people in general is it's a challenge for many people to move around for details and or for job locations. And I was just wanting to hear from your perspective what you feel NRCS is doing to help with dual income people, and then also people that are interested in moving up in the agency but have a challenge like this. Thank you.
So I can tell you from FAPD and programs perspective, we have detailees who may only do 30 days and come up to headquarters. Some of them, that's all their state conservationists can let them do because they're so needed in the state. But also we have people who do 30 days in headquarters and then go back and do a month back in their state. But when you do a headquarters detailee, 30 days is good, but we really want you to be in headquarters as much as possible for FaceTime and for interaction, because as you all know, being in the field offices and state office, that face time with each other, learning on-the-job training is really critical. And that's where you, in headquarters, you're interacting with regional conservationists, the chief, the deputy chief. You really need some of that time. But that's why I also recommend that timing is everything. I know I couldn't do that when I had smaller children. And it is a reality. It's not something, it's just something that happens, but it's important. And I think, it's not to hold you back, but it's timing is everything. And it's a reality because it is hard. I also took care of an elderly mother-in-law, and there were times I just couldn't advance my career during that time. So, but it's always, we have many people in FAPD who do either just 30 or 60 days, even though we ask for 120 days. So that's a possibility too. And we've had people come bring their families up and they just stay in the hotel with them, or the extended stay kind of thing.
Heather, this is Astor. I think the agency is utilizing more of the available technology to give people those opportunities, but also there are needs for individuals to be in certain locations, and that still boils down to what Maggie was saying. There are sacrifices that sometimes you have to make, and I think it's sacrifice either way. It's a sacrifice to stay because you may be missing out on an opportunity early because it may not come around again, and there's a sacrifice for you to leave. So I guess I should say it is what it is, and we all have to make those decisions. But I will also say that the agency has utilized opportunities. Very key what Maggie was saying on details. I think some of what we have done in our C shop, we had a team of folk doing our analytics behind our study, our field office time study, work study, and they came in at 3 different times over a year period. We, initially wanted to have them there, but we decided that with that opportunity to give people that chance to work from their home location, but to come in 4 or 5 weeks over that time was something that we could actually afford. So those are things that are available, but it's not available in every position. That's just kind of how it is. So totally understandable. And I think we're doing the best we can to try to manage that and help employees get that experience and have opportunities to move up in the agency.
Thank you all so very much.
Can I respond to that too? Sorry, this is Diane. I know what a challenge it is trying to do when you have 2 careers. And one of the advantages there's, basically in some administrations we have more opportunity to provide, to be flexible than in other administrations. So it ebbs and flows. But I have to say that being in an area like Washington, D.C. gives you opportunities, much more opportunities for both spouses to find positions that are satisfying. So, looking for opportunities like that is a good way to go. Not only do you have, the first job opportunity, but usually there's multiple opportunities down the road because of the diversity of agencies in the Washington, D.C. area.
Very good. And very good information. Sometimes we don't think about those things. Sometimes we kind of do get stuck in a rut, but thank you for looking at that, that concern that a lot of people have from a lot of different ways. I appreciate that. Very good. We are just a smidge over time, so we probably need to wrap this up. But thank you to all of our leadership and subject matter experts and the folks filling in for the ones that couldn't make it. We so appreciate your time and your expertise and your wisdom. It is definitely something that we all will benefit from. I certainly did not send out enough note area for all of the information that was given, so hopefully everybody had other resources. Our next webinar is April 17th, and the topic is the Senior Executive Service, and the supporters of WIN that are also in leadership will also be looping back around to help us with that, as well as some other topics down the road also. So thank you all for your time. Have a great weekend, stay healthy, and we will see you in April.